The president of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, emphasized that bilateral relations with Venezuela continue to grow stronger in several economic areas. Also, the president of Iran emphasized that bilateral relations with Venezuela are stronger than ever. And the Syrian Minister of Defense denounced a new Israeli attack on Damascus. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. The president of Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega, received with honors the president of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, who is paying an official visit to Managua as part of his first tour of Latin America. The Iranian leader was received at the international airport Augusto Cesar Sandino of the capital Managua by the Chancellor of Nicaragua, Denis Moncada, and other authorities of the country. Later on, the Iranian president held a meeting with his counterpart Daniel Ortega in the afternoon at the Plaza de los No Alineados, Omar Torrijos, where both presidents pointed out that their countries start from similar revolutionary processes. Nicaragua is the second stop of the Iranian president on his tour of the region after his official visit to Venezuela, where he signed 25 agreements in various areas of development. During his speech at the welcome ceremony to Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi, Nicaragua's leader Daniel Ortega stressed the similarities of both countries' revolutions in terms of the historic moments they took place, their shared social objectives, and also the common enemies they both face.
It's not a coincidence that the revolutionary Iran triumphed in the year 1979 with Ayatollah Khomeini, and the Sandinista revolution triumphed in the year 1979 as well. That's why we've always said that we are twin revolutions.
Additionally, the President Daniel Ortega referred to how recent imperialist policies and practices are similar to those used by the first colonists in the early years of the human history.
Every European empire have been great assailants and enslavers of peoples in different regions. And that practice has not disappeared because it exists in the very essence of empires. They want to lecture about human rights. They want to lecture the world about democracy. They want to lecture the world about all these, and they want to lecture our peoples about all this. But our peoples are strong.
On the other hand, the Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi thanked Nicaragua for its invitation and praised the Sandinista revolution's victory against the aggressions and efforts by their common enemies to destroy its revolution.
Our people knows very well the fights, struggles, and movements of the Nicaraguan people. You fought against imperialism and triumphed. You fought the plundering and demands and illegitimate demands of the imperialism and emerged victorious. All along these years, you resisted against all the imperialist conspiracies and triumphed.
Also, President Ebrahim Raisi highlighted the similarities between the peoples of Iran and Nicaragua in the pursuit of justice and sovereignty.
There are a lot of common elements between our two revolutions. The movement that looks for justice and freedom unite both nations. The people of Iran desired that all its destiny and its social interactions be based on their religious principles.
We stay in the same note. During an exclusive interview for our multimedia, the president of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, emphasized that bilateral relations with Venezuela continue to grow stronger in several economic areas.
We have a good relationship with Venezuela in different areas, political, economic, social, and we think that there is a high capacity between the two countries to make an exchange. So far, we have done good work for the growth and progress of relations. There was a deceleration between other countries, but thanks to the visit of President Maduro to Iran, thank God with that visit we have been able to extend and develop relations in different areas, in the area of energy, in the area of industry and technology and agriculture. And we have been able to make good progress and grow, strengthen relations even more between the two countries.
The Iranian president also stressed that the sanctions are being used by the United States to subdue the people and prevent their growth.
Whereas the United States, after the military wars, have incurred in the use of sanctions as an instrument against countries, these sanctions are a war against countries back the instrument before was military. Now, however, they are using sanctions to break the people. These sanctions seek to break the people and the pressures are on the people of the countries. So as the relations between the sanctioned countries grow, these sanctions are counteracted and neutralized.
Now we move on to other topics. In Mexico, the ruling National Regeneration Movement, Morena Party, is moving forward with preparations to define its presidential candidate. So far, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Marcelo Ebrard, and the head of the Mexico City government, Claudia Sheinbaum, have resigned from their posts in order to run for office, while the head of the Interior, Adán Augusto López, is expected to resign in the next few days. In Argentina, social movements and teachers in the province of Jujuy mobilized in rejection of the criminalization of protests by local authorities. The massive mobilization is part of a teachers' strike that has been going on for an indefinite period of time since last week. The teachers and education workers denounced the criminalization of social protest and labor precariousness. The mobilized people reject a decree that establishes a fine for those who are occupying a public space. Occupying a public satisfied sectors denounced that the approval of this decree was in the midst of the mobilizations of teachers who demand a salary improvement. And let's take a short break. But remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find the news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The Russian President Vladimir Putin described as catastrophic the military losses of the Ukrainian armed forces during a meeting with war correspondents. The president noted that Kiev forces have not succeeded in any part of the counteroffensive and have suffered heavy losses. Putin pointed out that the percentage of fatalities during the hostilities is between 25 and 35%, while the Ukrainians have a 50% death toll. In this context, the Russian president spoke about the possibility of creating an exclusion zone between Ukrainian and Russian territory and said that a martial law in Russia has not been considered, since it is not necessary to send more soldiers to the fighting zone.
And if this continues, then apparently we will have to consider the question. I say this very carefully. To create some kind of zone on the territory of Ukraine at such a distance from which it would be impossible to access our territory. But this is a separate issue. I'm not saying that tomorrow we're going to start this work. We have to see how this situation develops. But in general, throughout the country, to introduce some kind of a special regime, a martial law, it doesn't make any sense. Today, it is not necessary. We need to work more carefully on some issues. On this, I agree with you.
And the Russian Defense Ministry claimed on Tuesday that the country's army attacked Ukrainian operational reserves and a depot with foreign-made weapons and other ammunition.
Tonight, the Russian aerospace forces carried out massive strikes with long-range precision-guided air-launched weapons at places where operational reserves of the armed forces of Ukraine are concentrated, as well as an ammunition depot and foreign-made weapons. All assigned targets have been hit. The aim has been reached.
And the International Atomic Energy Agency's Director General Rafael Grossi said on Tuesday that the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest, faces a serious situation.
Because of course this is a zone and you are well informed about the situation in general. This is or quite close to the plant. There is active combat, so we are worrying that there could be, obviously, mathematically, the possibilities of a hit. We had those without any counter-offensive, so all the more so now that we have all these combats in the area that this could happen. I will be there for myself for a few hours, but then I am leaving my team. There will be a rotation. Some of our experts there are returning to Vienna, and we are replacing them with a fresh group of experts. We are enlarging the team, so we are trying to make our presence as visible, as impactful as possible to avoid a nuclear accident. Thank you very much.
And Rafael Grossi was speaking after last week's destruction of the Kakhovka Dam, which is located south of the nuclear facility.
Of course, with the destruction of the dam, the levels of the river and of the reservoir are falling down quite steadily, and there is a limit after which we could not be able to pump water to this reservoir and the channels, which means that we would be left with the water we have inside. Indeed, as I have said already from Vienna, this would not necessarily be a cause for immediate danger, but it is a serious situation because you are limited to the water you have there. If there was a break in the gates that contain this water or anything like this, you would really lose all your cooling capacity from this water.
In the Netherlands, the Dutch military intelligence agency, the MIVD, revealed that it had in advance informed the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, of a Ukrainian plan to blow up the Nord Stream pipelines. Local media reported that the European country's intelligence agency had informed at least 3 months earlier about Kiev's intentions to carry out an attack against the oil pipelines. And teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries using StarSat. Dial 461 and enjoy our Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In China, Honduran President Xiomara Castro's visit to meet with her counterpart Xi Jinping as part of the strengthening of diplomatic ties between the two nations concluded. Castro was in the Asian country from June the 9th to 14th, where she held a first historic meeting with Xi Jinping. She also congratulated the Communist Party of China for having helped Beijing to successfully eradicate extreme poverty and complete the integral construction of a modestly well-off society. And the former U.S. President Donald Trump pled not guilty to 37 charges related to alleged mishandling of classified documents. The not guilty plea was entered at the courthouse in Miami, Florida on Tuesday, where the former president was arraigned. Trump was released on his own recognizance after the 45-minute proceeding. As a condition of his release, he is barred from talking to his aide, Walt Nauta, who was charged on 6 counts on the 44-page indictment about the case. The former president will not be required to relinquish his passport, and there will be no limit on his domestic or international travel. Trump faces charges of obstruction of justice, conspiracy and false testimony, falsification of records, among others. On Wednesday, the Syrian Ministry of Defense denounced a new Israeli attack on Damascus. The ministry reported that around 1:05 a.m. local time, the Israeli army carried out an airstrike against positions southwest of Damascus. It also detailed that the missiles were fired from the direction of the occupied Syrian Golan, and the air defenses intercepted several projectiles. However, some of the projectiles hit their target, resulting in serious injuries to a soldier and material damages. Israel frequently attacks Syrian territory under the pretext of attacking Iranian targets, while Damascus claims that these hostile actions cause casualties among the civilian population, aim to prolong the war, keep the country unstable, and weaken its national army. And Russia's support for Syria, is not limited to the political, economic, and military fields, but also extends to the humanitarian sphere, which has been hard hit by the aftermath of the war, the blockade, and the recent earthquake. A contribution that this June was consolidated with the new assistance packages offered to the Syrian people in the different provinces of the country. Let's see.
In a gesture of solidarity with Syria, a Russian delegation of 80 people from all specialties offered aid material and gifts to the Psychological Therapy Center for Children and several elderly homes in the city of Damascus. The new assistance package includes blankets, pillows, sanitary materials, 150 stationery packages, and food for children, among others.
A large Russian delegation is working on the distribution of the goods in the different Syrian provinces. As we know that there are many needs in Syria, especially after the earthquake that destroyed several provinces, and the gifts and aid provided, whether for school, hospitals, or institutions, will have a positive impact on the lives of the citizens and will have a beautiful effect on the psyche of the children.
The Russian Ministry of Emergencies also delivered 8 tons of rescue and firefighting equipment to the fire department in Damascus, while the Russian Humanitarian Society distributed 150 food baskets and delivered 4 generators to 2 schools and 2 medical centers in the town of Yalda, east of the capital.
We are very grateful for the delivery of this batch of firefighting equipment, which is part of several batches of assistance that the Russian leadership promised to deliver successively to the fire departments in Damascus and in other provinces of the country, on the basis of their interest in helping us to fulfill our duty to save the lives and property of citizens in the current difficult situation.
This assistance is a demonstration of the joint cooperation between the two brotherly peoples, the Russian and the Syrian peoples, as well as a demonstration of the bilateral relationship and joint efforts between the President of the Syrian Arab Republic, Dr. Bashar al-Assad, and his counterpart, President Vladimir Putin.
The Russian side, in addition to signing several joint cooperation agreements with the Latakia Governorate in the medical, economic, tourism, and cultural fields, donated medicines and medical equipment to the health departments in Damascus and Latakia, and delivered electricity generators to the provinces of Tartus and Hama in order to supply electricity to some vital facilities.
We are very grateful for the medical aid offered to us by our Russian brothers because, due to the blockade and the aftermath of the war and the earthquake, we suffered the lack of many equipment, medicines and medical supplies. And this help is especially important in these difficult circumstances, as it helped us to fulfill our duty to serve the citizens of the country.
The distribution of these new batches of Russian donation is part of the annual high-level Syrian-Russian meeting for the return of displaced Syrians. This work reflects the great affection of the Russian people for the brothers in Syria and their genuine interest in ensuring the right conditions for the return of Syrian citizens to their home areas liberated from terrorism.
teleSUR, Damascus, Syria.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.